G students we're hoping to present to you.
Okay, so seniors and adults can make themselves comfortable on the chairs, and students can go to their classrooms. JSMW.
We keep it in the ziplock. It's a ziplock.
Maturity पैसा
Chair?
हाँ ठीक है YouTube में चालू ठीक है ये मुझे जो ना मैं WhatsApp में मुझे चालू है आवाज आवे છે डबल चेक ऊपर आवाज आवो જોઈએ
If you don't mind, the first part you're going to listen, but if you want to stand or sit,
I slept it. But it was like, it was one sided and this.
It was like this. Definitely pulled it off.
I wish.
You could have been good upset.
The past and the future. Are you in the panel? I asked everybody. I don't get an answer.
Hi, JSMW. So I'm Priya. I am the Class G Pachra teacher, one of them for this year. Class G Pachra, we'll go over a presentation in a little bit where we'll explain the mission of Class G and what we are doing today. But the theme of today's event is JSMW today and tomorrow. And so before we get started on that, for the first 20 minutes or so, we have a special panel where we're going to explore JSMW in the past. So we have invited some of our founding members of the Sangh to come and Parth and Saina, who are the Class G student aides, are going to ask some questions so that we can learn about the foundations of JSMW before Class G talks about today and tomorrow. So I would, everyone, if you could please give a big round of applause. So our panelists today, if they can come to the front, is Kanu Doshi, Jyoti Doshi, Tejas Doshi, and Manoj Dharamshi. If we can give them a big round of applause. So this will be, we've asked them to come share a little bit about the foundations of our community. And Parth and Saina will start and ask some questions. Then we'll transition to the second portion with the Class G students presenting to you. And the third part will be interactive where you can have Q&A with the students. So I'll have Parth and Saina go ahead and start if you want to come in.
All right. So standing right now, I can't help but feel a surge of gratitude. Standing right now, I can't help but feel a surge of gratitude. JSMW is everything for everyone in this room. It has an indelible impact on all of our lives. From forming a beautiful community to giving us an opportunity to religiously express ourselves, JSMW has done it all. To be in front of the very pioneers of this wonderful song is a matter of great pride and honor. So, before we start, I wanted to say my thank you to all of you for everything that you have done. And I wanted to start by asking the question that everyone has the most. What inspired you guys to create this song? Yeah.
all of pioneers of this Jain society. When we started, we came here 10,000 miles away from India, and with all this religious, rich culture and everything. And when we come here, we didn't have anything. We didn't have any resources or any at all. And we had to really find our way and give our heritage, the rich heritage of the Jain religion to our children and enrich ourselves for that. So we decided, we didn't have any other institution here. We had the India House of Worship that really was doing, but that was combined with all other religions, and we thought that we should have something that we can give it to our children. So we, about 8 to 10 family members, we decided that we will get together at one person's place and then give some basic knowledge of Jainism to our kids and also enrich ourselves. And we used to have a bhavana program and everything in the beginning. So we didn't have nothing to go by, but we started that way so we can pass on the heritage to our children and educate the whole society. Well, then what happened, when we were getting together and everything, and India House of Worship was celebrating the Mahavir Janma Kalyana at that place. So Chitrabanuji came and he inspired us to really form a Jain society so we can really formally do the Jain activities.
One more thing. We had a group of 5-6 families initially, like Kanumai said, and more people wanted to join, so it grew to 15 families, and we realized more people want to join. So based on recommendation, encouragement by Chitraban Maharaj Sahib, we started this Jain Society in March of 1980.
Wow, yeah, that's very inspiring to hear for all of us. So our next question for you, as with starting anything, there are likely hardships or challenges you faced when starting. So could you share some of like the hardships and challenges you faced when starting JSMW?
We won't call it hardship, we enjoyed what we were doing, but things were different in 1980, as you know. First of all, there was no catering available, and Punjabi, few people, but they would not cook anything without onion. So our ladies had to do cooking every time, any program, like Jyoti, then Vasanti, then Arti's mother, and Kanta. They were all three in charge of cooking, and every program we have, they used to cook everything for everyone. And especially we started doing Jain camp initially in 1981. We had a Jain camp for children only with Gurudev Chitraban. And 82 onwards, we had combined adult and children Jain camp, and it ran from 82 through 93 every year. Luckily, we found a place which, of course, our Ramesh Bhai Sagwe, his father, and Arti was studying at one of the colleges in Mixburg. They did not have any Sunday, any schooling during summer. The whole place was available. They used to give us all the whole town and a place to cook and have a cafeteria and all that. So we used to, our ladies used to cook food for everyone, and children and adults were taking part in those things.
I don't know who's this.
Of course, every time we had a program, we used to, our three ladies and other people supporting them were cooking, and of course, the only thing we used to tell people is to bring so many foodies to the place, everything else was done by them. And we used to have a number of programs. We had invited a number of scholars from India, and we used to have at least of course,
clear
scholars
is
were
I
of
don't know
course
what
programs like Siddha Chakra Pujan by Kariwala and programs like that. Because speeches by Baril, Tolia, and number of people coming here. Biggest thing was hosting them. Of course, we used to host them for last 14 years. We hosted all the guests, and you can contact me. There's a lot of stories about all the hardships we had for hosting these people. But we were happy that we could do all those things. And of course, other than calling all the scholars and all that, we also have a number of things like Pathshala going on. Miren Nagara started schooling at the
No, I
Pathshala.
forgot to.
Initially, there were just few students. And one more thing they did was not only Pathshala, but they also wanted to teach adults. And there was a competition between children and adults
should fix
of
it.
the knowledge of Jain religion.
Volume.
And then Tejas and Saurabh came up with the idea of having a list of all the questions. And then, based on those questions, we started asking these kids and adults take exam. And we started in 87. And
Sounds
that
good.
grew up into what you call today as JAB, Jain
Audio is
Academic
okay.
Ball.
Yeah, that's
We
okay.
ran that Jain Academic Ball in 93,
This is getting that
Pittsburgh,
microphone.
Jaina Convention, 95 San Francisco Convention, and then we gave it to Jaina. And
Now I
then
know
Jam
why.
has of course grown much more than what you see, but the origin started in our Jain society. We also started a 5-step yatra, and Sushil Muniji, who was in Siddhachalam, we used to visit him and visit all the 5 temples, and that's something we started first time. So we are the pioneers for starting Panchtit Yatra, we are pioneers for starting Jain summer camp, and a number of people from New York wanted to join. And of course, we had one time in 87, I think, 175 people in the camp, and about 40 people from New York. It was a big program, and camp ran for 1 week. Not only Jain students, but even friends of Jain students wanted to join, and our requirement was they had to become life members, they want to join, so they all joined. So a number of things like that were started. Second thing, we want to be in New York and New Jersey. Whenever there was a program, all they did was put a notice board. There's a program on this date, and people will read it, and word of mouth announcement will read it. We thought, no, we need to send circulars to everyone. So those days, all you do is type on the typewriter, there was no word program. So if you do something wrong, you have to write it out and redo the whole thing. But we used to send circulars every 2 or 3 months, keep people informed, all the things we're doing. So all these things we're doing. So one more thing we did was we need to tell people who the members are, and we want to publish directory. Actually, every 2-3 years, we used to publish directory, and I have all these directives which I can show. Okay, we started published in 1981, 82, and 80.
I think the size of those things tells you a story as well. The first one's really small, and then as you can see them getting bigger and bigger as he goes along.
Oh, but I'm gonna get them back. That's the only copy I have.
So I mean, just article talks about the circulars, and I think that's actually something that was kind of unique because what ended up happening is ultimately one person would print out the circulars, all the pages, and then our families would get together. And I think you probably remember this as well. We'd all sit in a big circle and essentially had an assembly line. One person put the first page, the second person put the second page, third person third page, and then someone stapled them. Then we folded them, had to put stamps, and actually in the early days it was all bulk mail, so then we had to sort it by zip code as well to make sure that they got out on time. It was all done in-house. And as painful of a memory as that is, I think the cool part was we were just together. And it was it was fun being together and being able to share that time with each other. I mean, here we are, what, 35 years later, it's still very vivid memory in my mind, which is kind of neat. And then to talk about Jab real quick, Jab was actually originally in, so Sarvadala and I both thought, we were trying to come up with ideas for our MJK program. And so one of the things we thought of, which would be really cool, is we had this contract, and we also had adult classes. We thought, I wonder if we did this two head to head, who would actually win? So we started, both he and I were on the academic teams at school. He was older at that point. He had been on his academic team. I was on mine. And so we decided, well, let's put the kids against the adults. We do it for our MJK program. And it was so successful that a lot of people came up and said, you should do this more often. And so that's when we basically came up with the idea of, hey, let's try this out at a JSMW. And ended up doing a lot of work, but doing that at the JANA convention in Pittsburgh and in Chicago and I think it was Toronto was the third one where we did it. And it was just a lot of fun watching it kind of grow, and now to see where it is today in terms of reaffirming Jane education across the U.S. is a pretty neat thing that started here. And I think it's due to the support of the community that really caused that to happen.
Yeah. We used to be the judges also, myself and my wife, totally. Because initially there was no guidelines or anything and we had to decide everything. There were so many really questions coming up. But and when we went to go in the conference, we were never able to attend any classes or anything. This was our limit. And all these years really, Jain Society was our third child. I have two children, Tejas and Rupa. Jain Society was our third child. We have nourished that child up to this moment. My children have grown up and they have gone their way. But we are still here and we are still active after 45 years, 45 years. And really, when we started, we really didn't have any guidelines or anything. We didn't know. Only thing we knew is that we want to pass on this heritage, to our children and give it to the society and enrich in the meanwhile our own selves. And I have accomplished both of these goals. My children and grandchildren have really educated themselves and they have graduated. And I have enriched myself that really I have benefited more than really I could really ask. I retired 23 years ago, 2000. I don't have any other activity but advancing my Adhyatma and religion society. Anything I can do. I'm not holding any position or anything at this point, but I still am active and people are respecting me for that. And I'm really very, very much blessed. I'm very much blessed. And one more thing. When we started, we didn't have any guidelines. So we had to come up with all these books, Snatra Puja books, Pratikaman books, then Bhavna books. Bhavna books, you will not believe, but Jyoti and Manoj Bhai, they worked so hard. At that time, there was no internet. We used to collect all these tapes and everything, listen to them, write them, and then hold those. We still have those books, but I think those books are now gone. But we still may have a couple of them. All this is written by Jyoti in her own writing. She has listened to those tapes and given it to them. And those stavans were not based on the film songs. They were all classical, very, very classical. And we're still using that.
One more thing I would say that our Jain Society was well recognized, one of the very organized organization. And of course, Chitrabhanu Maharaj and even a guy from London wrote down on his book that Jain Society Washington is very organized. Yeah, anyway, but we kept ourselves very informing all the people, all our members about Jain religion. And initially there was a book by Raman Lal Shah, and we ordered those books and sent to all the members one copy each. And also I made a short summary of that. One of the things which is being circulated, that yellow one, is the one we sent to everyone again, which is a very short summary of what Jain religion is. Those days, people did not know anything about Jain religion, and right now, of course, because of our help, our work, Jaina and all that, lot of activities are being done in Jain religion. But believe me, those days, we didn't even know who is Jain, unfortunately. Gujarati Samaj, we know is Gujarati, but we didn't know he's Jain or he's Jain. Okay. So those are not the hardships, those are actually the things we enjoyed to do, and we did them. So that's how the Jain Society has built up. Initially we started with 35 members in one of the schools, and one of the schools called Maryville Elementary School, we used to have our programs there. That was being called Jain School. And after that, of course, in '89, which we can talk about, we had this Jain Society, our current temple built. And of course, that was not that easy, because those days, when we had a meeting with some people, how much money they can give, it was not a big amount, so we didn't know whether we can afford, but luckily we found a place, and that house we converted to the temple. And as you know, we have the new Jain Center starting from '89 through right now. Okay.
The speakers, we were really very, very fortunate to have, when we have somebody, once our come to our house, it is our honor. But we had the really, we were fortunate enough to host these scholars and prominent Jain Munis, Chitrabhanu and Sushil Muniji, and Bandhu Triputis, and Chandanaji. We have, and Jyoti is still really helping. Anytime we want to have some questions, we call any scholars, and they are at the telephone, and they will say, "Bolo Jyoti Ben, su kaam chhe?" We have that context with so many of these scholars. Dhirubhai Pandit, Bhaliji, Nirmal Sagar, Kiran Bhai, you name it, Jitubhai Shah. જીતુભાઈ શાહ તો હજી એમ જ્યારે ફોન કરે ત્યારે જ્યોતિબેન ક્યારે તમારી રસોઈ ખવડાવો છો.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I think they deserve one more round of applause. This is truly a very, very moving story from a group of very passionate individuals starting off at a small house, at a small elementary school, with home-cooked food, slowly growing to be right here, right now, a new temple on the rise, with just their passion and their perseverance pushing them through. That is incredibly impressive. Wow, I can't even fathom how you guys must have done that.
Let me talk about one more thing.
Yeah.
In 1989, as you know, we did our new temple, this building, and Pratishtha. And for Pratishtha, we had invited, in a way, Chaturvik Sangh. There were Chitrabhanu Maharaj Sahib, Sushil Muni, Amrendra Muni, all three Bandhu Triputis, Charukiti Bhattarak ji, and of course, Jai Smita ji and Sadhana Smita ji, to Lady Sadhvi ji also. So in the presence of these 9 reverend people, we had this Pratishtha done of our temple. Okay, so it was in 1989.
So, Jyoti auntie, we wanted to ask you. So we wanted to ask you, what was your favorite memory of JSMW from its early days?
By men and women leaders, right? So, big.
Well, there are so many memories actually. I don't know. But Only one thing I would like to say that thanks to JSMW who gave me a lot of opportunity. One thing is there was no puja committee, so we created puja committee and we are going everybody's house and doing puja. That is good part for us. And collecting at least $10,000 for a year. That's what we were collecting. And we went to everybody, generally everybody's house actually, in Snatra Puja. And in beginning, I was able to do સંવત્સરી પ્રતિક્રમણ કોઈને આવડતું નહોતું તો મેં ઘણા વર્ષ સુધી બનાવ્યું છે પ્રતિક્રમણ and hosting, yes, hosting these scholars. So when we come home, we sit down till 12 o'clock, and all the time we were talking religious things, and we learn lot of things from them. That is my great memory.
You will not find any administrator like Manoj Bhai. He was so meticulous and everything. But the religious part of the whole thing was being taken care of by Doshi family, really. Started with Swapna ceremony, Nausmaran, Satra Puja, name it. Reading books, all these puja books and everything. She has the talent that even if we have not done the puja, she will be able to, rag besadi sakse. She will do it, and then we have done all these puja, Panchakalyana puja, Antaray Karma puja, Visthanak puja, so many pujas. Anytime anybody wants to, and we used to go to so many, at least in a year, 8 to 10 houses to do the Vastu puja and everything. And if we used to be able to collect so much funds, we have helped that way.
Wow, just for us youth members to know that we have amazing role models like you, very strong, very passionate individuals, really gives us hope for the future. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here for all of us.
You're asking for fond memories of, maybe you ask for everyone or just one person?
Well, I mean, you can share if you want to, but we do have
Doesn't
to.
matter. One more thing which we did is that starting of Jaina, which is, of course, Washington was the main driving force in starting Jaina. We had a visitor called Padmanabh Jaini. He was one of the conferences in DC, and we invited him. And when I called California people about him, they didn't even know about him. Then we started talking to all the people and said, let's have something so that everybody knows about all Jain religions happening. And then, of course, we talked to Lalit and other people in California and other places. And then we started Jaina in 1981 during a program in LA. And Washington is one of the founding members of Jaina. Okay, so just to let people know about that.
Wow, can we get one more round of applause for that? That is truly amazing to see how Jaina started here in DC. And yeah, now I'd like to give it to Priya Didi, who will introduce this project for you guys.
And if you help move their chair so they can sit in the front. I just want to say again a big thank you. In Class G, we talk about how our kids are lucky that they have a group of youth that they can interact with every Sunday, every other Sunday. They are meeting Jain youth. But for people like Tejas Uncle, Rupal Auntie, first kids of Pachara, right? This was a big commitment, and it was a small community, and so I'm really glad that both we got the parents' perspective and the kids' perspective of what it was like to be the first founding members of JSMW. So I'm going to ask Class G to come up, and we're going to transition to the next part of today's event. So, and I'm going to ask Saina if you don't mind pressing enter on the slide for the first couple slides. Thanks. So class, you can press enter. So Class G has 3 learning objectives. You can press enter. So the first is to apply basic principles of Jainism to complex real-world situations. Second is to explore advanced topics in Jain philosophy. And the third objective is new. We have added it this year. It's to prepare for active citizenship as a future adult member of our Sangh. And Mansi, who is my other co-teacher, we feel strongly about this because, from the first founding days of JSMW to our experience in Parchada to now, the worlds are so different, and it's so important we retain our youth's interest in our Sangh and prepare them to be leaders of tomorrow, especially as our Sangh expands. And you'll be happy to know that most of our students, when they were asked about whether they would want to be future leaders of our Sangh when they become older and are adults, they said, yeah, of course. What do you mean? Like, to them, this is kind of an expectation that they will continue to be part of the Sangh. So big round of applause for them. So for this third learning objective, these first few months of Pachara, the Class G students have been doing a project. So they've spent the first few months interviewing JSMW leaders. We know there are many leaders in the Sangh, so they did not interview, obviously, everybody, but they interviewed many of them. And they wrote 1 to 2 page summary reports. And then the students got to read each other's reports and give comments online in an online discussion post. And then we had one class where we discussed common themes from all the interviews, what they have learned, what their experience is like in JSMW so far, and they had time to dream about the future. What do they think are the challenges for the future? What are they excited about for the future? How do they think youth will be involved in the future? And so today is a really unique opportunity because they are going to share with you their findings, but they're also going to have a chance to talk with you and interact with you and answer your questions, because I'm sure you have thoughts about youth in the future. And we hope that today is the start of a discussion so that after today you can keep talking to youth, keep gauging their interest, and maybe we can polish something even more to fulfill this third learning objective for the next few months of Class G and for the future. So thank you for encouraging our youth members, and thank you all for being here today and everyone on the live stream. So if you don't mind pressing enter. Before we start, just a big round of applause and thank you to our JSMW leaders. This is not a comprehensive list. There are many people that run our Sangh, but these are many of the people who encouraged us to do this project, who took the time to be interviewed, etc. And so in the presentation today, you're going to hear about general themes, but you might hear about some quotes from specific people or examples of specific people in our Sangh. And Michami Dukram in advance, but I think the students have done a fantastic job. It is not easy to speak in front of a crowd, so thank you for your graciousness as they do public speaking and a presentation in front of you. But I'm going to go ahead and let Parth and Saina start, and then we'll have the students. If you guys want to come up, it'll be easier if you're in the middle of the stage, and they'll be presenting. So go ahead.
So as you guys just heard from our incredible panelists here, JSMW has a rich history filled with countless successes and experiences and memories. But what constitutes the success of JSMW today? To answer that, here's Class G to tell you who have, here's Class G who have spent the last several months interviewing executive committee members and compiling all their findings, which they will now present to you.
Jai Jinendra, my name is Jainam Shah. Along with my peers, I was interviewing people who have helped make this community better. So I'm going to answer the question, why become a Jain leader? To help answer this question, I've interviewed Arvind Uncle and Jalakanti. Firstly, Arvind Uncle. He's the lead of the temple committee. He has helped the temple committee make decisions regarding the new temple. His time, dedication, and communication has helped decisions like the marble from coming from India to the US be made. Secondly, I interviewed Jalakanti. She's a former JYOC board advisor. She advised the board to make the right decisions, but at the same time made sure everyone felt respected. And when they were respected, they were happy. This helped make the board make good decisions. With their positive leadership, I've been inspired to become a great leader like them. Thank you.
My name is Rishi Parikh. So, why become a JSMW leader? Firstly, from what I've interviewed and what I've seen other interviews, people have become a JSMW to give back to the community. A bunch of ways this has been seen is they have worked really hard and they know what they had once worked for, and now they want to give it back to everyone else. Now, a second reason that they become a JSMW leader is to bring change. Obviously, they've faced many hardships in the past, and they have found solutions to that. So their goal is to create a system for the youth that will be very successful and will, obviously there will be new challenges, but find ways that they won't have to face old challenges. Other values that they possess would be like respect. Now, respect for them, what I've learned, is not just respect to people, but respect to materials and things they've been given. Like one example I've seen was when after events or stuff they have, all of the leaders generally they stay back and they help clean up, even if everyone else goes home or has to go somewhere else. That shows great respect to just not the people, but materials and things they've given. And lastly, they're hard workers. They obviously all have their own jobs as well, but yet they're spending their own time to give back to the community and all of that. And all of these things really show me why I want to be a JSMW leader.
Hello, my name is Vihan Mehta.
And my name is Nishal Rajani.
So to become a JSMW leader, the role, the qualities, characteristics, and responsibilities are very heavily dependent on the specific role. Background is required, not required in the role, but it is heavily recommended.
For example, the director of public relations, you need to know a lot of people and have many good connections. Additionally, being an outgoing person who with really good communication skills is vital to the position, as a majority of your role is communicating with the public.
For director of publications, patience and persuasion are really good qualities to have. As one of the main roles of this position is to create the quarterly newsletters, many times lots of iterations have to be made to these newsletters in order for them to be polished and published to the whole JSMW Sung. Many times, getting information from the committees is really hard to get, as their main job is not these newsletters and they have other stuff on their plate.
Other positions require prerequisites opposed to certain skill sets. For example, the trustee position requires a $25,000 donation over their lifetime, as well as becoming a lifetime member of JSMW. For example, Vihan and I interviewed Satish Shanko, who's a well-known trustee. He told us that when he first joined the Sung, he had to do a lot of hard work and without even having a position. And because of all of his confidence and willingness he showed to the public, he acquired a position to pursue.
Some general characteristics to have are communication, flexibility, and balance. Communication is very vital in any good position to have, as many times your ideas are not going to be the one that comes to fruition. Many times, many ideas from different leaders will become blended into one big idea, which will benefit the whole public. Flexibility and balance are also really good qualities to have, as many times these leaders are working other full-time jobs in the day, and these JSMW extra volunteer positions are outside of their real lives and they have other things to do. So they have to balance this with their work and kids.
Finally, the time commitment. The time commitment heavily depends on the position that a volunteer has, as well as the event that is currently going on. For example, just recently we had a Nagar Pravesh event where we brought idols from India to the new temple. Many different tasks needed to be achieved. For example, some people had to coordinate how to get the idols from India to the new temple. Other people had to find out how much lunch to bring or food to bring to serve all the attendees, and other people had to find sponsors in order to donate to the event and make it successful.
Jay Janindra, my name is Anuva.
I'm Priya.
I'm Ananya. And I'm Anusha. Leadership, we're going to talk about challenges that JSMW leaders face. Leadership, whether in business, politics, or community organizations, require navigating a series of challenges. When challenges arise, the leaders don't complain or back down. Instead, they must persevere and rise to face the obstacles they encounter. Time management is a big challenge that the leaders of JSMW face. Balancing personal life with the responsibilities in JSMW is a big challenge that many leaders face. Most members of the Sung have a full-time job along with their role in JSMW, which would make it extremely difficult to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Many leaders that we interviewed talked about how it's very easy to lose track of time and become consumed with the responsibilities of one or the other.
Another vital part of leadership is communication. A lot of the people that we interviewed stated that communication between different departments was a big issue and that they needed to overcome that. Proper communication is essential to successful leadership in a community. This involves conveying ideas and information effectively, but also requires being a good listener. One example is that a lack of communication between different departments of JSMW and between leadership and volunteers can make it difficult to function. It could also result in messes related to planning for functions, and it can result in disagreements, which further decreases the communication quality. It's almost like a feedback loop.
In addition to these challenges, some of the leadership faces issues in compromising with others. For example, when different committees or even just different people on a committee have different ideas on how they want certain events to go, how they want certain things to look, etc. They often have to end up, as the group before us said, like giving up what they wanted, and their ideas may not end up being the final product, which can be hard, but it's one of the important things, one of the qualities of leadership.
Finally, tying into all of this, I was lucky enough to interview Nishmanti, and when I interviewed her, a main problem that she continuously said, even the first thing she said when I interviewed actually, was that we need more volunteers. Again, I think Nishul mentioned that the Murthis came from India recently, and there was a big event, and there was lots of people going and coming, which is great and amazing for our Sung in Marpachala. But the issue with that is that afterwards, there wasn't enough volunteers for cleanup. We need more people for that, and especially with the younger generation as well, because we can't rely on the older generation. At some point, we have to step up and be the new cause. Thank you. Told you I'd wing it. Oops.
Jai Jinendra, my name is Kashvi Mehta.
My name is Shrishti Doshi.
And here at JSMW, there are a lot of opportunities for the youth to be involved and every day. And on the national level, there's more, and within our Sung, there are plenty for our youth to be involved. So there is JYOC, for example, which is Jain Youth of the Capital, which is founded by the youth for the youth, and it's where youth can engage and connect with one another in spiritual, social, and service events. And we also tend to involve the youngest youth in buddy events so that they can partner with others to gain and connect experience and talk to the older people of our youth and just get to know one another. And some of the events that JYOC has conducted have included the Diwali events, Adopt a Road events for the cleanup on the new Temple Road, blanket making, PB&J sandwiches, and ethical debate discussions. Next, there's Sutra classes. Sutra classes are great for all ages because it helps the students learn sutras from a young age with one-on-one engagement with teachers. And this helps them apply this in their life when things like Pratikraman or Chaityavandan, they can apply the sutras they know and say them within our Sung. And some of the students that we have also advanced on a higher level and been able to teach the younger students of our Sung themselves with the sutras that they've learned through Sutra classes. Next, there's Hindi and Gujarati classes. Hindi and Gujarati classes are really good because the students can learn and connect back to their culture and also can read, write, and speak fluently in Hindi, Gujarati, or both. And my personal experience with the Gujarati class is that it's really helped me when I go to India is being able to see the signs, read the signs, the newspapers, talk to my relatives, things like that. And I really think that Gujarati class has really positively impacted my life. And students, when they graduate Hindi and Gujarati classes, can also teach the younger students of that class and help them apply their language skills within those younger kids. And lastly, there are student aids. And student aids is like the highest level. Like once you're an alumni, once you graduate, you can apply your knowledge with helping teachers to plan lessons, execute lessons, grade papers, choreographed dances for MJK, all the things. You help. We see our student aides everywhere helping out the teachers to do all these things, and it really just helps them apply their knowledge and gain experience. But this leads to the current problem we have is how can our alumni and how can our students stay engaged after 10th and 11th grade? What can they do to be engaged beyond being a student aide after that? Because the next shift comes into student aide. What can they do? They want to stay engaged in the teaching process, in the learning process. How can they apply their knowledge continuously throughout the sung?
So, YJA stands for Young Genes of America, run by a group of dedicated high school and college students who spend hours of their week working towards a better future for the Jane youth. There are many different committees allowing people of all skill levels to be involved. Many of the youth members of our own sung are part of these committees, me included. I, myself, am a member of the Education Committee for YJA. Kashmir Mehta is a part of the PR Committee, and Gavi Zaveri is a local representative for the Mid-Atlantic region. These committees all have different tasks. For example, Education Committee focuses on getting out Jane content in interesting ways, such as through videos or Younger Mind articles. LRs focus on creating social events for people within their region, and their biggest task is planning the upcoming YJ retreats. However, all of these committees' main goal is to make Jainism accessible and interesting for everyone. Additionally, we have the Jain Academic Bowl, better known as JAB, which was talked about earlier, and it provides an opportunity for Jain youth all over the nation to compete against each other in a series of rounds where Jainism-related questions are asked. The participants prepare with a 400-page manual for months or even years in advance, all to bring home a trophy for their sung, but also because of the many benefits that come with learning more about Jainism and connecting with other youth. Our own JAB junior team brought home their trophy in 2021 after many months of hard work and dedication, and last year all of our teams made it to either the semis or the finals in Lakeland, Florida. Overall, the youth in our sung currently play a vital role, but we want opportunities to be a part of larger projects, especially after 10th grade and graduating Class G, as Gashri also mentioned. So that leads to what we can do next.
All right, so we all are aware that JSMW in the present is flourishing. However, JSMW has simply planted its roots onto the ground. The future of this song is stellar. As the flowers of JSMW bloom, its fragrance is sure to fill a sense of unbreakable community within all of us. With the construction of the new temple, it is safe to say that JSMW has a bright future ahead. Without further ado, let's pass the mic to the very future of JSMW, the people that will carry on this legacy to generations to come. Class
Jai Jinendra, my name is Lay, and I'm honored to speak here today. And I was very grateful to interview the four leaders that I did. And in fact, two of them worked on building our new temple, and one of them was the head of the temple committee, Arvind Uncle. And I wanted to start off by a quote from Arvind Uncle during his interview that was really inspiring to me. And he said, his duty, his role, was not a job, but it was rather a duty to serve the future generation. And knowing that he's a retired professional in the industry and he has lots of experience in the industry, it just shows how he gives lots of his time and experience, in fact, most of his time and experience, to leading this temple committee, and he's been doing it for so long. In fact, for some background, the new temple was purchased in 2011, and it's 5.25 acres, and there's a plan to be both Digambar and Shwetambar temples. And in the future, it's also going to include many spaces, such as multi-purpose halls, upashrays, the dining halls, and many Bachala classrooms for the future generation. And when I was interviewing Arvind Uncle, he mentioned that there are many benefits of the new temple that we often overlook, not just having a space for everyone to gather and pray and worship, which is also very important, but it will also attract more people to our JSMW community. When more people come to the DC area, they will come to the Derasar, they will meditate here, they will worship here, and more Jains will know of this center.
it will serve as a source of publicity to build JSMW, and that kind of builds off of the last thing. More people will know about this Jane Center because of its presence, because of its new founding, and all of the hard work and dedication it took to build the temple. It will give JSMW independence to host events and programs on its own basis, not in the hands of many of the school systems that we rely on right now. And that will be because of the multi-purpose halls and the dining halls and the classrooms that we hope to install there. And however, it may lead to larger issues with a lack of volunteers to maintain the temple. So this is why when we interviewed Arvind Uncle, he mentioned that there were necessities for more volunteers and more people needed to help maintain the temple and help maintain the Sung, and that's why he's looking forward to the future generation. Thank you. Sorry? Sorry? Oh. Okay. My apologies. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Naman Shah.
Jai Jinendra, my name is Neil Jariwala.
And we're here to talk about moving JSMW into the future. Now, there's two categories here. There's technological advancements in our Sung.
And we have also more involvement in our Sung.
So technological advancements consist of like social media, a way for the youth to like kind of give advice to maybe people that don't have much idea about social media or spreading like events and stuff to people that aren't aware. We can also live stream these events like the one that's happening right now to get like donations and other sorts of people that can't come in person to watch these events. A new way is also like a way to get the youth involved, because the youth, we always want to get the youth involved. We always want to get them to learn these new steps and start taking charge. So this is also one way that, because all kids are tech savvy. I don't know one kid that's not tech savvy. So they'll like help. They know a lot. They can spread everything. And also this can help in our networking system. Like our network can grow even faster and even farther than the eye can see.
So, involvement in our Sung, as Naman just said, social media, it is like the new wave kind of. In school, I get all my information from my clubs and everything through social media. I think we could start applying that with JSMW, our JYOC, YJ, everything. YJ and JYOC already use it. I feel like if JSMW did it, we could connect to the youth a little more. Also, adding on to that, more involvement in our Sung equals more strength. Simple equation. So, increased involvement translates to more active participation and enhanced membership in our Sung and Bachelor. So together, as a community, we can build a stronger JSMW. Also, volunteering. Volunteering was an issue that a lot of my interviewees said. Volunteers, our youth, are basically what's gonna bring us into the future. We are like the stairs to the next level of JSMW. And what we need to do is we need to, as youth, even the young ones right there, all of you guys have to take charge now, because sooner or later you're gonna be up here giving the same presentation. And you guys are gonna need to, do your research, and you guys are gonna also be the ones carrying JSMW forward. And more participation is more independence. That basically means the more we participate and the more we become self-sufficient, and for our Sung will become more influential, and that allows more membership and more publicity, which will basically have more engagement throughout the community. And that will carry our Sung forward into the future. So let's embrace involvement as a form of service to our song, fostering unity and strength. Together, our efforts will shape a vibrant and thriving community into the future. Thank you.
JSMW, my name is Brisha, and we're here to tell you how we can get involved in the future. So first we have shadowing. The purpose of shadowing is to allow post-bachelor teens and young adults to explore different JSMW positions, the responsibilities, impact, and skills that are required. The intent behind this idea is to find ways for us as teens to remain involved in JSMW after bachelor, similar to a student aid position. So you might be asking, how does it work? Basically, a JSMW leader works closely with a young adult and they teach them how the position works and what responsibilities they as a leader have. Once the leader feels that the young adult has the necessary skill set and proper knowledge, the two begin to work together for a specific period of time. This reduces some of the workload the leader has while also giving the young adult first-hand experience in working with the song. Hopefully, this will allow for the young adult to eventually take over the position when they are an adult. The benefits of this are that it allows for the teens to gain experience in their areas of interest, whether it be technology, PR, or more. It also improves their skill set and slows them and allows them to build upon their already existing skills. Furthermore, it provides them with the exposure and of the mechanics that are required to run JSMW. Finally, it allows for us to give back to JSMW after being benefited by it for so long with Bachelor.
As many of our fellow Class G classmates and Brisha mentioned, there are many different ways that the youth can start to become more involved in JSMW. One example that we realized was a good idea after our interview with Tejas Uncle was bringing back youth labs. As many of you may remember, at our successful Shilanyas ceremony, we had many youth labs in which the Pachala children were able to take the lab for a Shila and place it actually into our foundation of our new temple, giving them the sense that they were making a difference. We believe that this is one way that youth can become more involved and increase enthusiasm for our new temple and realize that they have a real change in what they are doing to bring our sung forward. This also fosters the sense of giving back to their community. Along with these youth labs, as many people mentioned, like Naman and Neil in the previous slide, social media is the way to get youth involved. We believe that if youth can be involved in increasing the Sang's as a whole social media presence by having maybe small positions like creating a JSMW Instagram, working the Facebook, Twitter, live streams like Naman mentioned, and all of that, we believe that this can really progress JSMW into reaching out to further youth generations, creating that online presence which will leave that digital footprint that everyone will be able to see and be inspired by, and overall just increase participation and engagement and moving our Sung forward. Overall, there are many different ways that the youth needs to be involved in our future Sung in order to create it forward. And as our founding members have mentioned earlier, this is the way that we can bring our Sung forward and create a lasting impact. Thank you.
Thank you to all of Class G. So this is, like I said, them summarizing themes from all the interviews that they did and the brainstorm session they had together about what the future could hold. So this is the start of a conversation, and today you had the chance to kind of move the conversation forward. So we'll have some mics on both sides for Class G students, and we'll have some mics circulating in the audience, or you can just we would prefer if you would raise your hand if you have a question for the youth, and they'd be happy to answer. And then maybe we can have about 20 minutes or so for Q&A, and then these conversations can continue formally and informally in the future. Anyone want to start with a question?
All right, I'll try not to make this too tough, but it's more for future thought than anything else. So I guess I'll start with, I was in your position about 30 years ago, 30, 35 years ago, however many years, I can't count anymore. But see, he's adding age. That's fine. The challenge isn't necessarily in the next year or two in terms of involvement. The challenge is when you go to college, when you get married, when you start having a family, and you have to start prioritizing your time accordingly. So, you know, one of the things that you'll face is how do you manage that? And you kind of heard some of that earlier today with, you know, just in your interviews and even when talking in the earlier panel about just, you have a limited amount of time and you have to make priorities and make those decisions. So you're going to face a lot of diversity in backgrounds. You may not even end up living here. You might be in some other town. So I guess the question is, what opportunities will you take advantage of to build inclusiveness, contribute, and give back to our rich community, not just locally, but wherever you end up and nationally as well? I know it's a loaded question, but it's, I think, probably one of the more important ones to ask.
So just to get this started, as we mentioned, like some of the ways like youth labs and social media and shadowing especially, I feel like if the youth are able to have those experiences at this young age, continuing through college, like Prisha was saying with shadowing, that can like build the foundation for the need to give back to their community, for them to see their impact on what they're doing, and that will allow our generation and future generations to go further in applying this to other places where they live, in other Jain Sungs, if they end up going somewhere else and stuff like that.
I think continuing on, also like building a lot of interest now, like for example, like you were saying, like the youth clubs, like in which you can sort of like literally lay the foundation. Now it will make it so that all the youth is more interested and involved to see what's happening now. Also with social media, if us as college students, for example, are able to see what's happening here and are able to join the live streams and join the pujas, join the events from social media as well, even if we're not living here anymore, it makes it a lot easier for us to be involved.
Adding on, I just wanted to say that all of the virtual things that we're planning on saying, like if for example in the future, if we move to some other state or some other city, we can have the live streams and we can have still virtual things, but it's still more important to like have a sense of like we're still in the same community even though we're so many miles apart. So for that, there's many things that YJ is doing, and that was explained in one of the slides. And YJ is basically expanding all over North America, actually, and they are connecting with scholars from India and and things like that, and they're bringing the religion closer to people, college students and high school students, and even professional people in their professional life from ages 22 to 27, who are also staying in touch with the religion just because of all of their educational content, all of their events, and all of their materials that they have. For example, YJ Bachelor. And YJ Bachelor is not something that you have to go to and attend. You can learn about Jainism with the different modules that they have, and it's ever increasing. It's always expanding, and in some of the committees that the youth can get involved right now, they can expand to that library of YJ Bachelor, or some of the other things like Younger Minds that help for 13 and younger ages. And all of these things help everyone stay connected, and even if you may feel like you're moving away from your own Jain society and your Jain Sangh, you're still staying connected with YJ and with all of their efforts.
Somebody else she wants to talk. Okay. First, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, and thank you to their teacher for getting them ready today. Thank you to all of you. I just had two questions. One is, I know you're stepping on people's shoulders to get here, but if you think of a dream JSMW, what that would be, with no constraints. Like I know you have parameters here, social media, this, that, but what is your dream JSMW? And the second question is, if there is one thing in your 10 years of Pathshala which has been so wonderful, what is that one thing or one word, just a phrase, which you will want to recreate in the future? Any of those?
I'll just get us started. I'm going to answer the second question first. The biggest word, I think, for me, and the biggest thing that has happened with Pathshala and the community is friendship or community itself. And I think that in my dream JSMW, I would want to foster that community and ensure that these bonds are especially important, because the friendships that I've made in my many years of doing Pathshala have helped me in so many other aspects of my life outside of Pathshala, outside of JSMW. And I think also community, as we continue to grow older, because of these bonds, we're going to stay closer, and it'll also impact the future of JSMW when we come back to help it grow as a new generation. And having these bonds early on is part of the dream JSMW, is to create the community, create these bonds that will foster everything else that comes with it because of the mutual appreciation of each other.
To the first question, I think that volunteers is the biggest thing in the ideal community. You want a song where every single person is always willing to help, drop whatever they're doing, come help. We have one person in the temple right now who continuously comes in every single day to change the toilet paper, clean up trash, do something. We're hiring new people to clean up trash after our events. But in the ideal song, I would want everybody to be willing to come in and help. And I know we all have our outside lives, we all have our jobs, we all have, parents have kids, parents have other things to do, but in the ideal song, I would want to see that.
I just wanted to add one more thing. In the ideal JSMW, you know how in India, every single Derasar is there's so many people involved in it just because how many people are interested in helping the Derasar. And I don't know, it's just a different environment, maybe with the march size, or maybe with a lot of people, or maybe a lot of and many presence of Jain centers. But in the same way, in a dream JSMW, that's presence of involvement and that presence of dedication towards Jainism and each other would be something that, adding on to what Gashri and Shrishti said, the community and volunteerism, that all comes from a passion, and that passion is something that would be in the dream JSMW. And that's something you can see in all the Jain centers in India, and that happens everywhere there. So that's something that would be in a dream.
And I think just to answer your second question as well, the most important thing I learned from all my years in Pathshala is about dharma and about my duty. So Jainism for me has always been a way of life. When I started off and I was 3 or something, when we first came to Pathshala, it was something that I was forced to go to every single Sunday. I didn't enjoy it, I didn't want to be here, but then as the years went on, I learned more and more, and it just became such a big impact in my life of even that when I go to college or when I go off or anywhere like that, I will keep the principles and the core values that I've learned from Pathshala with me. They influence my daily decisions, whether it's while I'm walking on grass or saving my friend from killing a bug. Everything I do, every single thought I do and make, I've learned from Pathshala, and I'm so grateful to even be here in the first place. But yeah. No one else?
Jai Jinendra. I am Kamlesh Shah, as many of you know Kamlesh uncle. Many of I have taught you in the Pathshala as well. Today is the day to really remember the contribution of many senior Jains. 2 of them which I would like to definitely mention because they are connected to me. My father-in-law and mother-in-law, Ramanik Bai and Vashanti Ben Sangvi, along with Manoj uncle, Kanu uncle, contributed right in the beginning. And in fact, I was drafted as a newbie in town to seal and stamp the newsletters along with Tejas and Rupal and everybody else, just as a historical perspective. In terms of, definitely, I'm impressed with what you have produced, in terms of your vision, in terms of your perseverance to develop the whole presentation today. One thing which definitely you may want to consider adding the next time around. We live in a multicultural world, and not just Jain religion, but there are people who follow Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Sikhism. They are all around us, and we interact with them. So as Jains, definitely take some time to learn about what they do, how they do, what their scriptures are, what they believe in. You know, they are all following their own along with us. So let us all work together, and I can be your guide if need be on interfaith activities. As I mentioned, along with Hindus and Jains, there was an institution which was developed probably back in mid-80s. Manoj Uncle and myself were part of that at the time. United Hindu Jain Temple Association. We are 14 temples in DC area. Total congregation, 20,000 members. So definitely there is a room for youth activities and engagement. We are taking some students for local pilgrimage, the college students as well. Very impressive information for you. At Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., there is a Dharmalaya, which is a multicultural center. All religions are present, including Jains. So something of the future, when you're going to the college, take that initiative and work on those. Thank you.
Jay Jinendra, I have hopefully an easy question. Partially because we have some parents of many younger kids here, and we have some seniors here, so they may not know. I think Kashvi, you mentioned the JYOC events, and the youth have been doing Adopt a Road. And so basically on Annandale Road, where our Derasar is, they clean up every quarter. And as a result of cleaning up every quarter, there will be a sign that says this road has been adopted by JSMW. So question is, do you guys know when we'll get that sign, or how much more cleaning up you have to do so we can see that sign?
Well, so I don't actually know the specifics about it, although but I know that we're gonna keep on doing this. I'm sure we're close. Maybe you can, our advisors might know. I'm not really sure. But
yeah, we do it. Yeah, like they mandated us to do it 3 times a year, at least 3 times a year, but we aim to do it more, and with JYOC, and for more people to get involved in it, because that would be really cool, like as non-JYOC too, because everyone could help out, and it's just community service at that point. But we can get back to you on that one, though.
Jai Jinendra. Let me do it, and then you can give it to Rahulji. Very impressed and happy by your enthusiasm. All of you did a great job. I know you guys are eager to become a future JSMW member. My question is there any one of you have decided to commit at least couple of hours to JSMW starting today, or have you done that before that? You know, in 1 month, I have 3 hours other than Pathshala. I'm going to go to the temple and help, organizing this or doing that or that. And if not so far, can you think of that starting today?
I can answer this. So I haven't committed, but every Sunday, me and my family try to go do puja and even on Saturdays occasionally, we go to the temple, especially before Pathshala. We go to the temple and do puja, and we do Jaityavandan. As well, whenever there's events, I try to help my dad out as much as possible. Over the past few years, I've been to many events before and helped set up a lot of different materials, and like helping Manan Uncle out with technology, setting up MJK, or like just helping and serving also.
Adding on to what Vihan said, a lot of my friends here, we all always help volunteer at events such as MJK, at the Derasser in general. Here as well, like setting up chairs, setting up the technology, and it's not really planned, I guess, but it's more of us like in the moment. But what I would like to see, just as you have said, I interviewed you, but you said in the interview that instead of having people in the moment volunteering, you would have what you would like to have people sign up before, so you know how much help you're getting, because there's not much signups that you get, but it's more of people will see it and they'll do it. So it's just something for you all to consider, and I guess us as well, but everybody in general.
So, I can kind of speak for most of us because we don't have the freedom to, like, unlike you guys, but yeah. So, to do as much as we can, like at the events or even like before Pacha, like setting up chairs. During MJK, we try to like set up the stage or kind of help with like the cameras, help with like setting up a JYOC booth, or just trying to get more like involvement and initiation in the community.
Okay. All right. We have 4 questions queued up. We have enough time for that? Okay.
Jai Jindra, everyone. So thanks, Priel, for putting this. I think this has been great. Probably eye-opener for a lot of us. So my question. We know we're building this new temple. I'm sure all of us are excited. What is one change each of you think as a JSMW leadership we can make to cement your commitment for the future to Jain society?
So one change that I would like to see is perhaps a little later Bachla start times, because you know it's our weekend, and with the new temple, I know we're gonna have the freedom of our classrooms and everything. So just something to consider. I'm sure more kids would probably attend more often if it was just a little later.
So in my opinion, one small change I would like to see is more communication towards the youth, because I know that there is the newsletter and we do have class group meets, but normally there's not much beforehand, like asking us to volunteer. It's mainly day of, and as much as we would like to volunteer, we would like to know beforehand too, because sometimes, although we do have prior commitments, it would be great to give back to our song and do as much as we can, but we do need to know beforehand so that we can dedicate that time and actually put in the effort.
I mean, I don't really know for a big change or something, but maybe something I would like to see more of. Remember during quarantine when we had those calls every night for sutras and all of that, and then we just stopped doing that. But I think that was a really good time. In my family especially, it was a time when we would all sit together around the phone and say the sutras, or if somebody volunteered, then say the sutras, or listen to them or something. But maybe just bringing that back.
For me, I think one change that I want to see is if you want my involvement, for example, you want to make sure that I'm doing it right. I want to know what I'm going to be doing in the future. So, as in, I want to be able to be a part of it a little bit now and to see. Because, I see my dad, he works until, 4 a.m. doing this. He's on EC calls at, 11 p.m. I feel like his workload is too much sometimes. And I want to help him, And I feel like if you involve the youth more in that sense, you can also let us know what's coming for us. And that way you can secure our involvement if you show us what we're going to be getting involved into. And help yourselves that way too. So.
Adding on to Prisha and Kashfi, for certain events, I would like to know a little beforehand a specific job or role, and focus on one job and do it to the best of your abilities. Because right now, if we come to an event, there's many different tasks that are, and there's a lot of people there, but sometimes we're just sitting there and we don't know what we're doing. Like we're helping out as much as possible, but there's just like a lot of scrambling going around. And if we're like focused on one task, we can do it like much more efficiently and finish it like much better.
Okay, I think this is kind of like ties into telling us beforehand, but also like allowing us to have a say, at least somewhat, in what's happening on the events and how they're being coordinated. Because this is also going into like getting us involved in college, and when we're not no longer in Bachelor, is like if we have a say and if we are able to help coordinate the events now, then that'll help us to be more interested in coordinating the events and coming back later.
One more thing, like I wish for everyone's ideas to be like present, not just our class, even the classes below us. Like everyone has something to say that can be added and is important. Even if it's found to be silly for some people, other people might find it much better for them.
This kind of adds on to what Priya said, but I think that if there was a way for us to easily like see what we can help volunteer with, because I remember from my interviews, I remember that people said that it was difficult to find volunteers. And I think that if we were offered volunteer positions, then I think that we would be able to be more involved.
We have 3 more questions queued up.
Right. First of all, thank you very much, Priyal and the kids here. The people who interviewed me were amazing. It was a very hard interview. I gotta say that. Question for you. You did one thing that was great in the presentation was call to action. You listed out 3 things that you think you can do. Are there any thoughts on one of them, which is shadowing? I found that very interesting, and some of you are alluding to that. Are there any thoughts? Did you discuss any details around how would you go about it?
Okay, so I talked about this with Vishalanko and Tejslanko both, and they found this as a way to bridge the gap between teenagers and college age, because that's when you get the least involvement, because everyone's busy with their own lives. So we found that the best idea would be to introduce certain positions which can have shadowing, because not every position needs it, whether it be tech, EC, or not. But it allows them to get partially involved, but not fully. Like they wouldn't go to the EC meetings, but they would assist the person they're shadowing, whether it be virtually through emails, in person at Bachelor, or even at events. And this, it really depends, because if one person can dedicate 7 hours a week and one person can only dedicate 3 hours, if they can find a schedule, which is like, we meet, I teach you what I do, I explain my position, I show you what I have to do on my daily schedule, like what I have to get done each week, and you help me to figure out like certain events. You can sometimes write the newsletters, and you can help edit the newsletters and stuff like that. And it allows them to get involved without fully like dedicating themselves to the position. And also if you learn it when you're in high school and after Bachelor, if you're in college and you can only help virtually, that also gives you the freedom to do it when you need to and by that deadline, similar to like school, right? If you have a project due in 3 weeks, you can do it at your own pace. And so with this position, we thought that if someone's interested in tech and PR, then they can go and shadow the tech or PR person or position. And they can learn from them, and then by college, they can help them, they can reduce the position's workload a little bit. And there's a lot of logistics that go into that we haven't discussed yet, because I don't think we're the ones who can make the decisions on that. I think that has to be between the leader and the shadower themselves, because each person has a different schedule. And honestly, I think that by bridging that gap, it allows them to take over the position younger, because we see that all the leaders are adults, they're parents. So if we can get someone to be a leader earlier, it also allows them to gradually repeat the same idea and have their own person shadow them after, and that allows it to that not all the leaders have to be older. They can go and they can reduce the amount of time they spend. And honestly, I feel like it's an idea we came up with, but I think there's a lot of thought that needs to be given to it that we personally, as me and Kavya, couldn't just give on our own.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea personally, because for people who especially want to pursue a field in college, like for example tech, like one thing you could do is like one-on-one weekly calls or something, or like seeing Mono Uncle here with the microphones and everything, like there could be someone with him learning what he's doing. I mean, he does so much for our song. I feel like having a shadower, if they want to go into that, like learning about these tech things, these light things, or like even Vishal Uncle, like president, like there's so much that goes into your role, learning about what do you mean? Like having someone see that also increases their appreciation in general, and I think it's a really great idea because it benefits not only the shadow person, but also the person giving the shadow. I mean, like, you know.
To the next question, or?
So thank you, Class G, and it's a wonderful thing to see all the kids and all the teenagers are being involved. So my question is going to be on, you guys, a lot of you talked about social media presence and how that's going to help us move forward. So if you had a lot of ideas on your slide and you guys talked a lot, so I just wanted to ask, what is that one important or the first priority that you think will help us move forward in terms of close collaboration, communication, and getting our JSMW to a next step? So what is that one priority, and if you think out of all this, which one would get us to the next, closer to the next step?
So now, I don't know if a lot of adults outside of like the JSMW league know that there is an actual JSMW website. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but in the worst case that they don't, like social media, everyone's on either Facebook, Instagram, or even like Twitter. Somebody's on it. Somebody needs to know what's going on in the world. If they don't, they're like living under a rock. They're not gonna know anything. But we need, like, they need to know, and it kind of helps improve and expand our community. It'll like expand roles. There might be new roles that are created due to our technological advancements in social media. There might be new, like, more participation, more volunteering in our community. Now that there's like more people are aware of this, of the events that are going on. Not people that just come to Pacha, but people that don't have access, like, to coming to Pacha, like, can't, due to like an illness or something that's going on that they can't hear about the news, right? There needs to be a way that everyone can access it regardless of like the circumstances.
Okay, here's the last question.
Thank you. Pranam, everybody. Entire Class G, what an amazing presentation and a lot of hard work. And thanks, Priyal, for your guidance to get it to a next level, and other teachers. My question is, we are building a big facility, big Jain Center, and next 12 to 18 months are crucial for our Jain society. As you had interviewed a different individuals with the different roles in the Jain society today, what is that, a couple things, like the first is, in your experience in working with all the leaders, what is the role you find which is the missing? And how can we kind of, what role, like for example, we have a director of education, director of communication, PR, etc. What is the role you think which will add, or is the missing link in today's organization, if you know that? And the second thing is, we want this youth to come and join and sign up for the Pratishta ahead of the time, and we can definitely get you engaged on the various teams.
So I think that a very good position that should be introduced, I think that we had it a little while back, but a youth member that's on like the board, I think that would be really useful with it's like a bridge between the kids and the adults of what they're planning. Like in Howard County, there's a student member of the board that relays information. They're like speaking from the student point of view on the board. And I feel like it would be very useful here. As you guys are saying, you want a lot of more youth involvement, and I think a good way to do that is by through the youth, kind of, and yeah.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. I think that it's important for us to be able to have that firsthand involvement. So rather than adding like another parent position, I think it'd be nice if some of us could try and help out. And I think that would also help with the whole communication problem, because then it would be like someone from our class would be able to see both sides of it.
Thank you to everybody for your questions. I'm glad you pushed them, and you all did a phenomenal job answering. This is just the start, right? So we're going to continue these conversations. One thing I wanted to point out, when we talk in Class G about this third objective, becoming an active citizen now and in the future, one thing we talk about is respect for the people that came before us, for the things that have been tried before the youth today are here. And that means respect on both sides. So that's why these students, they did their research, they did their homework, they did interviews, they did that first to learn what has been done, what the challenges are now, what your perspective is. And then we asked them, like, now you can give your ideas, you can dress up, right? Be taken professionally, and that means respect on both sides. So respect from the youth about understanding the history of what has been challenging in the past about involving youth, and then respect from our leaders and parents and community members that we always give youth a second chance, third chance. Maybe one idea didn't work 30 years ago, and maybe today it will work, right? So if we are all open-minded, and as Kamlesh Uncle mentioned, we are living in a multicultural world now, right? This is not India anymore. That is our goal, that we don't want to lose youth because of one bad experience or something that didn't work in the past. And same on the parent side, that we don't want to lose your trust just because one thing didn't work out. So I would love it if we got one picture of the youth, and then if we could have both the JSMW leaders that are here and also our founding members from the panel, and if we can have a group photo. But thank you all so much for giving your time, especially on this snowy Sunday. Thanks.
Jai Jitendra, thank you. Online, we're going to stop the transmission now. Thank you.